Today on Locked On Rockies, we're answering your questions from the Locked On Rockies YouTube comments section, celebrating 1,000 YouTube subscribers.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 13th day of December in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when you tune in and become an everydayer of the Locked On Rockies podcast. When you tune in every day, when you find us on your favorite streaming services, when you find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, like so many of you have, you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can set the tone for episodes just like this one. I don't ever really officially call them mailbag episodes, but I should, because, you know, we're basically going to go over a couple of big topics from some YouTube comments. And once again, thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. Like I said, folks, it might just seem like a number. It might just seem like whatever. I know it's in the world of the online content creation. Oh, I need the likes. I need the subs. Blah, blah, blah. I need all that stuff. It really is a massive milestone for us. It's a huge help for the show. And really, really, folks, you've established that you all like to tune in and check out the pod and talk rocks here on Locked On Rockies with me. And it really, really, really do appreciate it, folks. I mean, again, I look at this show and I look at myself, and again, I'm a passionate fan. I really love this team. I love Rockies fans. I think we deserve, quality content about this team. And I'm really, it feels good to see that you folks believe in the content that I'm producing over here. And again, and it just goes to show you how people want to hear about the Rockies. People want to listen about the Rockies. That's why I'm such a big believer in all the other Rockies media folks out there as well. It's important for us to be able to talk rocks, no matter what everyone else says in the world of baseball and all that stuff. We are Rockies fans. We care about the Colorado Rockies. So for you folks to show up here and support the show and embrace what we do means a whole lot to me. So thank you so much again for making us not only your first listen of the day, but subscribing to the show on YouTube, firing off your Rockies hot takes, and letting me know what's on your mind. Really, 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 really do appreciate it. Thank you again there. So we're going to dive into a couple of questions and more on today's episode. Before we do, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So there you go. All right. So I wanted to talk about a couple of questions and stuff that I got from the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section here. And let's start with this question here from Caden. Here we go. Caden asks, what kind of season can we expect from Bryant in 2025? There is no strong answer to this question. I don't know what to expect from Kris Bryant. Plain and simple. There's no way for me to what if or would set expectations, because it truly right now, if you're asking me what do you think will happen with Kris Bryant, what do you think is the most likely thing for Kris Bryant? I think the Rockies play Kris Bryant in right field at the end of May, and he tweaks his back, and unfortunately, it's completely sets him back for the rest of the year. I think he plays first base and he dips down for a ball and it tweaks it and he misses time. That's and I don't want to be that negative against Kris Bryant. I'm just saying, in this time that we've had Kris Bryant on the Rockies, the injuries have always been a problem and have gotten in the way of him getting on the field. Folks, for the last, let's see, he just surpassed last season playing 162 total games, past 162 total games for the Rockies. Actually, hold on, I don't think my math might be right here. Well, and that is, what is that, 70? What is that, 79 plus 80? So he hasn't even met that yet, actually. He has not played a full 162 games for the Colorado Rockies yet. And during those times, I mean, he's a shell of what he was. Maybe not so much in terms of batting average, I guess, but when he's played full seasons, when he's been healthy, when he's been on the field for a long time and back with the Cubs, he was a 4+ WAR player. Not I guess they had the 2.3 in 2018 there, but even in that down year, it puts to shame everything that he's done as a member of the Colorado Rockies. So, what are my expectations? I hate to do this, but I don't have any. Plain and simple, I don't have a strong indicator of what Kris Bryant can do and will do for the Colorado Rockies. Simply put, because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And because the injuries have prevented him from being anywhere close to the player that he was in the past. My expectations, if Kris Bryant stays healthy, is that he's fine. He's not great. He's not bad, but he's fine. And he can be a veteran in there. But as I've mentioned a few times here, this week as the winter meetings were going on and such, playing Kris Bryant in the outfield is a mistake. It is a mistake. It is a certified, bona fide mistake. I am really, 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 really discouraged to hear that the plan is to get him. Let me read the full quote here. This is from Thomas Harding's Rockies, hoping health brings consistency in starting rotation. Which had some good insight into the front of the rotation and the injuries they face and the thoughts there. We might dive into a little bit of that here, but I just want to read from this. The Rockies hope Kris Bryant, who has spent most of his 3 years under a 7-year, $182 million contract battling injury, can play some right field, more on the road than at home, designated hitter, and first base when Michael Toglia gets a day off. Black and Schmidt said Bryant is doing well in his offseason program to strengthen his troublesome back. I will never feel confident with Kris Bryant in right field. I won't. I will when Kris Bryant is in the lineup and he's playing right field, I will be spending the entire game thinking he's going to get hurt. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to just put that negative energy on the field. I don't want to negate the fact that Kris Bryant's a professional athlete and can work on things and can get strength back and rehab and XYZ. But again, Kris Bryant's biggest impact for the Rockies will be with the bat. It will not be from stellar, crazy defense all of a sudden in right field. It ain't going to happen. He hasn't looked comfortable once in the outfield in purple. Not once. I've never sat there and been abundantly confident in Kris Bryant's ability to play outfield defense. Oh, and he's only going to play right field on the road, exactly where he injured his back last year. This one is the real issue that I have here. The first base playing is fine. That makes total sense. I will sit there and say that. It makes the most sense for if you're giving Toglia a day off to have Kris Bryant play first base. That does make sense. Now, he's got to do a lot of twisting and scooping and a lot of stuff that involves the back, but he also has to do that every time he swings the bat. If you can't twist, if you can't dip and make a play while scooping a ball out of the dirt, you're not going to be able to get your full rotation of your torso and be able to get the swings that you need. And if your back's been a problem, that obviously I think is going to attribute to the dip in offensive production when we have seen Kris Bryant on the field. So, to answer the question overall, what are your expectations for Kris Bryant? I can't set any. Because right now, my gut tells me he plays 50 games and he's hurt multiple times throughout the season, and he plays right field in one game on the road, and he does exactly what happened last year. This is a situation in which I just don't get this philosophy. I don't get this thought process from the Rockies. Right field, You have so many other things to figure out, as we've talked about time and time again. But for this team to just sit there and be like, yeah, we're already counting on KB playing right field. I plain and simple, I don't get it. Does JD Martinez play in the field? Why are the Rockies not trying to turn Kris Bryant into the ultimate DH? That's what his role should be with this team. I never, ever want to see Kris Bryant playing right field over one of the young guys this season. Plain and simple. If he's going to play the field, it has to be first base. You have to use right field for all these young guys that you have to find playing time for, or you better start trading some of them off. You have far too many outfielders that are at least in the AAA, the AA, the near MLB ready spot that you got to do something with. And by just trying to force the Kris Bryant situation, force the defense stuff with Kris Bryant, hey, sure, maybe he wants to play in the field. Let's focus on getting 80 games played this year. Let's focus on that first. Kris Bryant has only played at most 80 games for the Colorado Rockies, and in that time, he was a -1 WAR player. In 2 out of the last 3 seasons, Kris Bryant has only been able to play at most 40 games. I am not trying to just knock Kris Bryant, the player. He is a leader. He's got great talent. But I'm so worried about the health that when I'm setting expectations, I'm setting the expectation that he's going to get hurt, because I think the Rockies are not going to be putting him in the best situation to succeed. I do not think having Kris Bryant play right field at all is beneficial for the team. I truly don't. I don't know what having Kris Bryant play right field does for the team instead of just having him DH. There are better defenders. There are faster players. There are players that need playing time. And go down the list. You want Veen to make his debut this year? Well, where's Zach Veen going to play? You want to see what the bounce back of Bouchard? You want to see what's going on with Beck? You want to finally give Greg Jones some playing time? I mean, that's 4 names right there that can all play right field instead of Kris Bryant. The goal for Kris Bryant should be healthy offensive contribution. That should be the goal. Yes, it's an expensive DH. Yes, the money's only getting worse. Yes, you want to get more. I want to see 100 games from Kris Bryant, and I don't think putting him in the outfield is going to help him get there. And it's crazy that I'm sitting here and having to settle for a guy that's getting paid as much as he is to play 100 games. But the back is such a tricky thing. You use your back for everything, and you extra use your back for everything in baseball. So, in reality, I guess I'll just put all that aside. If Kris Bryant stays healthy, I think he's a 2 WAR player. I think he'll hit some home runs, but the power, the numbers, they're all way down, folks. 5 home runs in 2022. Again, I understand that, but the power numbers, the slugging, I mean, it's not necessarily screaming at you like you're used to with Kris Bryant. When he played he had the highest slugging percentage he's had for the Rockies was in 2022, 475. In the limited time we saw him last year, he batted his slugging was 301. His slugging in the 80 game stretch in 22 was 367. And hit 10 home runs in that season, but he also only, that's the most. I don't know. Can he still hit 20 home runs? Maybe, sure, why not? But I don't know. Plain and simple, the goal just has to be putting Kris Bryant in the best situations to succeed, and having him play right field isn't that. But I think Kris Bryant, if healthy, hits 15 to 20 home runs, can, hit a high RBI total, have some big moments in some big games, and that's about, and that's it. Again, this guy, he's going to be 33 this year. He's older again. He's still, it's not putting him out, it's not too old to contribute, but it's been a long time since he's played ball at the rate that he played. It's been 3 years since he's been as impactful as he was with the Cubs and the Giants, and that's a problem. So I'm not gonna set expectations at the moon for Kris Bryant. Just not gonna do it. I think if he stays healthy, he has a perfectly average season that helps the Rockies by someone that maybe doesn't strike out as much and another person that can flirt with 20 home runs. That's what I'm thinking. All right. So that'll do it for that question. Let's move on to question number 2, but got to take a quick break before we do that. So stick with us. Before we move on, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Gametime, Gametime, Gametime. Folks, no better option for you if you are looking for last-minute tickets, or if you even want to plan ahead and get some tickets ahead of time as well, because Gametime's got you covered, and Gametime's got a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. You can toggle the all-in pricing feature right when you fire up the app, so you're going to see all-in pricing. That means everything you need to know about the cost up front right there while you're looking. No surprises there. Also, you're going to get a panoramic view of your seats, so you're going to know exactly where you're sitting. You're not going to have any surprises there. Who wants any surprise? The last thing you want to do is spend big money on a ticket and find out that you're sitting right behind a pole or something like that. The seat view really helps with that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We can find your team every day. We are answering Rockies questions from the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section here. We were just talking about Kris Bryant there. Thanks for the good question there, Caden. And here's a question from Marco. We have the rostered players that we have, but what if we had a clean-ish slate to build from? I would love to see a new leadership team come in, GM, manager, coaches, and a full empowered analytic department with the Monforts not interfering in anything. This new group could establish their own philosophy for the team and build towards it through trades and drafts. What do you think that team would look like? Yes, we'd want a well-rounded team, but what are a couple areas that you'd build around? A pitching staff that doesn't just focus on ground balls, but prioritizes the strikeouts would be a good start. A couple mashers would be good, but I'd love to see a dedicated focus on speed and contact. Force opponents to make plays, and like you mentioned in a previous podcast, get people moving on the base paths. Or maybe we could just sign another second baseman. Congrats again on the 1K. Thank you so much, Marco, and thank you for being an everydayer. I know you're out there listening all the time, so shout-outs to you. What a clean house would look like for the Rockies. You could at least sit there and say that if the Rockies were to make that many changes, it would be the biggest shift in Rockies history. It would be the biggest philosophy change of this team. It's a team that, again, if I was embracing that, I wouldn't just want to follow the Rays model. I wouldn't just want to follow that model, the full money ball of trying to just squeeze everything out of low contracts and stuff, because I do like the fact that the Rockies will open the wallet. Again, as much of it's been a bummer, it was still cool that the Rockies were the team that ended up signing Kris Bryant. It was still cool that the Rockies were a team that was able to get a big deal done for a big name free agent. I think you need to keep that window open. You need to keep that ability there. But what I would look at and what I would do is I would heavily invest in people to figure out Coors Field. I literally would double the analytics department, and I would bring in those people I would bring in outside perspective. I would bring in people that have there are people, I don't have specific examples, but with all of the numbers, all of the things, all of the stuff that people crunch and figure out and dissect about baseball, there are people out there that have been studying Coors Field. I'm sure about it. And I would talk to them and I would see, what do your numbers tell you about playing at Coors Field? What do the numbers tell you about player profiles at Coors Field? And I wouldn't, it wouldn't be the Bible, but it would influence the way I would be looking at players. I think what we're seeing right now, one of the benefits is the Brenton Doyle is the perfect center fielder for Coors Field. You need to look at, you need a speedster ability to do that. And you need to be able to find the players that have had really great success in the areas of the Rockies and look at and study their numbers and figure out what it was. And if it's, yes, it's going to be the talent of the player and that stuff, but there are going to be ways to figure out how to maximize what you're doing. Because the biggest code, I shouldn't say the biggest, one of the biggest codes that needs to be cracked from the Rockies, and this does trickle into the front office. It's not just, hey, we got to play better on the road. You need to figure out what is that, looking at the numbers, looking at the things, what does go on when the Rockies go from home to away? Who are the players that have been successful in navigating the home and road splits? What is it about their approach that makes them successful at home and on the road? And you need to, again, these are all kind of fairy tale type ideas, but this is how deep the knowledge and the information can get in baseball if you care about pursuing that information. I would literally focus a team of people on crunching numbers, studying over 30 years of Rockies history, and trying to figure out the profiles of players that have been the most successful at Coors Field and then been the most successful at being able to go from Coors and go on the road. I would be a team that would not focus on pitching to contact as much. I do think that I wouldn't mind if keeping a Kyle Freeland type guy, but the Rockies cannot be a team like we've seen in the past. They cannot be a bottom of the Rockies will never probably have the best pitching staff in baseball. They just can't be the worst, and they can't be the worst in areas like striking people out and walking people and free bases like that. The Rockies, I do believe that, again, everyone, you got different pitch movement, you got different control. People talk about that all the time. I think if you can control your splitters and your fastballs that are just devastating that we see across baseball right now and throw in 100 miles an hour, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see these young arms and how they look, because what was the best was when the Rockies last year actually had some, someone come out of the bullpen and it's piping 100 at you. Boom. 3 pitches, all 100 miles an hour, one of them inside on the hands. I do think the ability to miss bats would be a huge strength for the Rockies. But the one thing I will say, I would try to keep established, and I would try to set the same precedent of solid infielders for the Rockies, especially defensively, have been pretty solid. So I really would try to emphasize that belief in defense as well from the infield. And then for hitting wise, I really just think that development is so hard there, but I wouldn't keep above all, I just wouldn't keep extending opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to people that have fallen a little short. Now, Bam Bam hasn't necessarily had the longest tenure as the Rockies hitting coach, but this is a year. This upcoming season is a show me something year for this entire coaching staff. Show me why you were brought back. Show me that you are this development guy. Show me that you can get Kris Bryant healthy and hitting again. Show me that you can get these young guys as an offensive threat. And the other thing I would do differently is I would be a much more aggressive team at the trade deadline. I certainly would be a team that would look at the writing on the walls, and I would make those moves. I would make more moves in there. And sometimes if I'm in a contention window and I have a prospect I like, a Brendan Rodgers, for example, I'm going to be more willing to entertain those conversations if you're going to set up windows and situations in which you need to win. The Rockies, if they put themselves in positions of success like we saw in the playoff years there, they need to be willing to make those moves. And it doesn't seem like that's the case. But above all, I really would. The clean focus and stuff is. I just really would believe in diving into the data, diving into the history of the Rockies and what has worked for them. But man, a big focus would be doing whatever I could to make the Rockies a consistent top 10 offense. And I know that's a lofty goal, but the path to Rockies success will follow great offense. Great offense for the Rockies will build them back into a playoff team. They will win the shootouts. They will hang in there. They will be able to navigate the bullpen blowing games because the offense is so good. But you know what? When you even in the hypothetical world, it's hard to even kind of conceptualize what that would really look like. But I really would focus on diving into the numbers. And I really would I'd want to get more strikeout type pitchers, not completely abandon inducing weak contact pitchers, because I don't hate that idea. I really don't. I just hate that it's so much of the Rockies pitching philosophy. And I would be in on big home run guys. I would make the DH a spot to hit home runs and try to find a JD Martinez type guy, a Kyle Schwarber type guy who can hit bombs and be aggressive. And mixed in, though, stealing bases is also part of the future of baseball. And it sounds like the Rockies are kind of already on that path with even this Estrada move. And let's talk a little bit more about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and us here in Locked On. All righty here. So we've been reading comments here, and we got a couple of, I believe, Giants fans checking us out here. Let's see. Skaterson Baseball says, enjoy Thyro. He's going to go 2020. And Primo says, going to miss Thyro. Best of luck, big bro. He's going to pop a couple out for you guys. And honestly, this kind of does make some interesting, makes for some interesting a nugget here. If I can find this. Here we go. This is from Thomas Harding, again, MLB.com. Rockies infielder Estrada agreed to 1 year pact with 26 option sources. I just want to read this here, though. Coors Field may be the place for Estrada to rebound. In 24 career games in Denver, Estrada has a 348, 406, 565 slash line, and his 4 homers are his most at any venue other than San Francisco's Oracle Park. In 39 career games against the Rockies, Estrada bested his new team to the tune of a 345 average with 7 home runs and 33 RBI. Hey, if you're already a Coors Field merchant, I know you're going after Rockies pitching there, but if you're already sitting in a position that you're comfortable batting at Coors and you already can see the benefits there, mixed with the fact that Estrada does have some solid, does have the ability to put the ball over the wall and steal bases. Again, I don't think it's going to be an immediate, whoa, everything's completely changed. Everything's completely different, especially because we're dealing with, an injury bounce back season. But if you can hit the ball over the wall, hitting 14 home runs there with the Giants in 22 and 23, hitting 9 last year. If you can hit home runs in San Francisco, you're going to be able to hit home runs at altitude, and you're going to be able to be someone that can be an impact. And like we said, really do like the fact that he's a contact guy and not as much of a strike, someone that we don't expect hopefully to be as much of a strikeout victim here, mixed in with his ability to steal bags. If he can be a 2020 guy, if he actually turns out to be a 2020 guy, that's awesome. I mean, it would be pretty great for the Rockies to be able to finish up the season with, let's just say, hypothetically, if this is a perfect scenario, a perfect case scenario, the Rockies could have 4 2020 guys on the team. Jones, Tovar, Doyle, Estrada. That's pretty darn good, man. That's pretty darn good. As much as I want someone to be breaking that 30 home run threshold, get someone up there, that would be a great development for the Rockies. As more of I'm hearing about this Estrada move, even though it's still kind of mixed with a lot of weird stuff with Brendan Rodgers there, I do think that this was a move that makes good sense for the Rockies. And it's great to hear that it's great to have fans come in here bummed about missing the player and coming in and be like, hey, this guy's got stuff. There are parts to the Estrada profile that really are interesting, and we'll see if they end up panning out with the Colorado Rockies. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Once again, thanking you for helping us hit 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Thank you again so much. Really do appreciate it. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB with our guy Sully. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.